Hi, my name is Daniella, and you are listening to the Audacious Path podcast, which is the one and only podcast specifically targeted at adventure creatives. And today I'm very excited to be talking to Holly from Hippy Sailing, who's a bit of a legend within the YouTube sailing community. And that's because she's one of the first solo sailing female channels. She sailed to New Zealand, which is where I am right now, all the way from Maine, northeastern USA. So her channel has over 80,000 subscribers, and my research shows that she's got one of the highest ratios of patrons to subscribers, which means she has a very, very loyal following who wants to help keep her journey going. Holly generously gives all the details about how she grew her channel, and some of the details might actually surprise you, but the biggest thing that I'd like to share is the one around authenticity and staying true to yourself.
You know, I want to be authentic. That's my whole channel, is that it's raw, it's not polished, and it's really authentic me. Like, I film myself when I first wake up. I never try to make myself look perfect. I do one shot and that's the shot. Like, I'm not setting things up.
But it has not been all sunshine and rainbows for Holly. Holly actually almost completely burnt out and stopped doing YouTube.
But mostly I was like, this isn't making me happy, and that's the whole point of doing this.
But it was her dear audience that helped keep her going.
Comments were the reason that I stuck with the videos, and I have said that in previous videos, but it's because of all the positivity that I stuck with it.
We also talk about a lot of other things, including timing, collaborations, good looks, and also the deeper topic of how do you put out content when you're just not feeling it. You can find Holly at youtube.com/windhippysailing or on instagram.com/boatlizard. And I would absolutely love to hear what you think of this episode as you listen along. You can tag me on Instagram or Facebook or send me a DM at the Audacious Path. And let's talk to Holly.
Why did you decide to do this in the first place?
I just wanted to make money as I traveled. That was pretty much the dream. I didn't know that it would work, but I thought I would try.
What did your family think of you doing this? Like, when you started, because my understanding is that you had a pretty, open-minded family. Like, whatever you would have done, they would have been pretty cool about it. So what did they think when you started publishing the videos?
I don't know. I think because they wrote articles for sailing magazines when they were circumnavigating.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's the modern version of that, following in their footsteps.
Yeah.
They were really supportive. I mean, my mom was my first viewer, so.
And I watched one of your first videos, and I found that you cut pretty well to start with. Like, it might not have been, the best video in the world, but, you obviously did some research before you launched your channel. What did you do to, leading up to it?
Really nothing. I just did it.
You don't, watch other YouTube videos or look at other videos? Oh, my God. How did you get better?
I listened to the comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always?
If they were constructive.
Yeah.
It's easy to tell when someone's being constructive and when someone's being mean. And often the constructive ones are still hard to hear because they're criticizing you in a way. But I did take it to heart.
Yeah.
Because I was editing, I had a GoPro 3, and I was editing on my iPad. And the iPad was so slow. It was like the oldest generation iPad that had a GPS chip in it. Because I was really cheap. And it would take 10 seconds to do each thing, and I was just using iMovie on it, and I think that was part of the reason the videos weren't great, in addition to just figuring it out. But then people kept saying, your audio sucks, and I was like, cool, but not really sure what to do about it. So I just kept going. People kept watching it anyway. Even though they were complaining. And then I finally got a laptop, and I started using headphones to edit, and that really helped.
Yeah. I find the perspective between the viewer and the editor is, there's a bit of a disconnect. It's not always, they don't always understand, what you're doing, and the advice doesn't apply. Has that ever occurred, or anything like that happened for you?
Yeah, I mean, some people want polished, and it's not going to be polished, and if they want that, they should go to Netflix. Yeah. That's professional. And people watch YouTube, I think, because it's more raw and more real.
Yeah.
And so when I get comments like that, I'm like, well, you clearly don't understand the platform that you're on, because unless you have a full production team, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so to those comments, I just ignore. And then the ones that are like, hey, the wind sound is really distracting, I'm like, well, you're right. But yeah, I could have used this channel when I was first learning just to teach you how to do it, because there was a lot of equipment. I was like, I didn't know about the blob things you could put over your microphone.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about equipment for sure. How many videos did it take you until you started taking it seriously? Or was it always serious from the start?
No, it was, I think around my fourth or fifth video, someone told me, because I used to post every week, someone told me to create a Patreon.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I can't do that. And then I did, and then people started joining right away. It was this wild, I remember I was in Antigua, I was sitting in this anchorage, and I watched like 3 people join my Patreon. And I
know that feeling.
Yeah. Then I was like, all right, this is for real, because now people are actually paying me money.
Was it intimidating though? Because I was
scary.
intimidated.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I need to suddenly be more or something.
Yeah.
But then I realized that they were paying because they liked what I was giving.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It eventually, the pressure left again. But there was a period of time where I was like, shit, all right, I guess I have to actually continue with this. And then I didn't like it. I stopped liking YouTube, and I decided, I said, I'm going to give myself a year. I'm going to keep doing it for a year, and if I still don't like it at the end of the year, I'm going to stop.
I want to hear more about that. Why didn't you like it? What happened?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. It was a really big deal. I think it was when I was doing videos every week, and that felt like too much. And then I cut back to once every 2 weeks, and that was better.
How did your audience respond to that?
They were pretty cool about it. There were 1 or 2 people who were not, but there always will be. One guy made a huge deal about it, but he was just making a big deal to be a big deal person.
Yep.
But mostly I was like, this isn't making me happy, and that's the whole point of doing this.
Yeah.
I think I didn't like it because I really struggled with trying, I want to be authentic. That's my whole channel, is that it's raw, it's not polished, and it's really authentic me. Like, I film myself when I first wake up. I never try to make myself look perfect. I do one shot, and that's the shot. Like, I'm not setting things up.
Was that always the philosophy from the very start?
It just kind of happened, because that was how I was filming, because I didn't know what I was doing. And so that became my style, because that was what I don't know, just happened naturally. I didn't know any other way.
Did you always feel confident in that? Because that's one of the things that, like, I kind of went through a process where, I was trying to appeal to everyone, and like, I have probably in the last 10 videos, actually, so pretty recently, fallen into that, like, confidence of, like, in the end, like, what I like is the kind of person I also want to attract.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get here, and it seems like you found it pretty fast. Like, why?
I think because I never watched any other YouTube channels.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
Yeah, I never watched a sailing channel before I made mine, and I never watched any YouTube lifestyle things, and I still don't. And because of that, I had nothing to compare myself to, because I didn't know what anyone else was doing. So it just felt like, I still feel the disconnect when I film. I'm just me on my boat holding a camera, so it feels really natural, really easy. There's no pressure, there's no one else there.
Yeah.
So everything just flows. And then when I edit, I'm like, okay, now I'm editing for other people to see, so maybe take that out. Oops, I was naked there. But yeah, then I never rewatch my videos. Once they're edited, they go up, and they're just out of my mind.
I feel like I have something to learn from you here. Like, I definitely rewatch, re-edit, analyze, look at the data, all of that. So yeah, I feel like you're making it a lot easier. I am curious, though, how much do you think is, like, an ability to get away with that because of the timing in your story? Like, I think that you, and I said this before, like, you have such a unique story. Like, you're on a tiny boat. It's really freaking simple. Yeah. You're a good-looking person, which I think actually matters, you know? So how much do you think all of that kind of helps a little bit? Or do you not think so at all?
Oh, no, it definitely helped. I mean, it's a niche that wasn't filled by many people.
Yeah.
I know there are female solo sailors on small boats out there on YouTube, but I was one of not that many, whereas if you're a couple, there's a million, and you really have to stand out and put a lot of work into to be seen above the masses.
Yeah, be unique as well.
Yeah, so I think that definitely helped. As much as, I want to say that it's all me, blah, 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 it's definitely not.
Yeah.
It's got a lot to do. But then I think retaining people who are initially attracted to my channel because of how unique it is, that's where the story and the voice comes in, is keeping the audience.
Interesting. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, I think people appreciate my channel for its authenticity. And that was the big thing I struggled with at first, and that was why I wanted to stop YouTube, was that even though I'm showing my authentic self, as authentic as I possibly can. Like, I'm not pretending anything or writing scripts. It's always a version of you, right? Because it's everything is a version of you. Like, your friends only know one version of you. And it was hard for me to come to terms with that. No matter how much of myself I put into my videos, it's still a version of me. And I'm the only one who knows all of me.
Wow.
And that was this. I was
therapy here now. I love this.
But it's like that thing they say, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides.
Yeah.
Because you know all your deepest, darkest secrets, and you know the times when you're not a good person. And then putting this, this Holly out there, which I think I do a pretty good job of showing as much as I can.
Yeah.
I still am like, oh, but they don't know that I, like littered once. And it was this really weird reckoning. Yeah.
Do you think that being authentic is a strategy that can work for everyone, or do you think that there are better strategies out there?
It's interesting to think of it as a strategy.
Yeah.
Because it feels self-defeating in a way. For me, it's the only way I can do it because I can't act, and it wouldn't feel right for me. Like, I can't picture, and maybe this is because I never took a class on it where they're like, these are all the different approaches you can have, and maybe if I did, it would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But all I know is that I'm like a person with a camera and I'm just filming myself. And it's not a strategy, it's just the only way I know how.
Yeah. I find to think about not being authentic sounds exhausting. Like that, and I it's probably doesn't speak well to me that I'm thinking it's a strategy, but like I have to be authentic just for the pure fact that
it's easier.
Because
you don't have to be like, who am I gonna be today?
Yeah, and I don't know if I would like my channel, and I think for me, my channel is in some way like a safe place.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but like I really connect with the community that I have built, but I've only connected with them since I've become more authentic.
Yeah.
And like I know that like maybe I can make more money doing something else, but then like would it be personally fulfilling? And I don't know, do you have like, does that resonate with you at all, or?
Definitely. Yeah, for me it's not even a choice, because you would have to put so much effort into like deciding that you were gonna be, but then if you put on a face of I'm Susie this, then you meet someone who watches your channel, and then how do you act?
Yeah.
Do you act like them? I don't know, that just seems tiring.
Do you know how many people I meet in person and they're like, you're the same in real life, and I'm like, yeah.
That's the whole point.
Does it happen to you?
Yeah. Also, people say I'm really short.
Oh my god. People say I'm really tall, so there you go. You said that you don't think about what you're recording in advance. It kind of just happens in the flow. But I've watched your videos, and there is, I feel like, some thought that you put into, like, what would make sense in the moment. Like, you pick up the camera, what happens in your head?
Yeah.
Now?
So now I know the moments that will work for filming. Mm-hmm. So I think, okay, I'm doing this thing. This is something that people want to see. So then I start filming it and I talk about it. And if I film a big talking head of me for 5 minutes, just, at sea waxing poetic about life, then I'm like, all right, I need at least a minute of footage of my boat so that I can put that over the talking face so that people don't have to stare at my face. So there is, I guess after about a year, I started thinking about the editing as I was filming, which made the editing way easier.
Yes.
And like I'll never have more than about 6 seconds of any one clip. Mm-hmm. And so I don't film for longer than about 10 seconds if I'm doing little, like, it's the sail, it's the wind vane, because that's just extra stuff that I have to edit out later.
Yeah.
So it does come in the moment, but I do think about, okay, I'm going to edit this.
And what are some moments that, like, really do well that you, like, think about making sure you capture? Like, if you're at sea, for example.
Yeah, anytime something happens, like big weather, sail changes, the exciting stuff, which often is the stuff I don't film. Because if something big and bad happens, I'm not going to film it, I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been hard for me to, I'm like, all right, I know this is what people want to see, and this is what I would love to look back at, but if the sail is flogging because the sheet broke, do you reach for your camera or do you try to save your sail?
Yeah.
And I always go for save sail, unless I realize that I have time to set up the camera, and then I do.
how big of an impact has it had on your channel to meet other creators that have a good following? Like, you've done a couple of collaborations. I saw you did one with Old Sea Dog, and you've met James, the sailing guy. So, like, how much do you think that has impacted the success of your channel?
Oh, I always get a little kickback from those interactions. Like, Old Sea Dog just posted my video, and I think I got 1,000 subscribers from that.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's great.
Yeah, people comment like, "Oh, found you through Old Sea Dog," and I think it's cool to do those collaborations because it never takes away from your own following to share someone else, and it only. I had a Norwegian friend he's all about collaborations. He's like, I don't know why people try to gatekeep their audience when by sharing another person with your audience, they're not going to unfollow you to follow them. You're just spreading the love and showing people, if you like me, then you might like this person. So
yeah, definitely.
It has been fun to see other people's setups and cameras and how they do their channel, and that's I really
cool.
like it.
How do you make that happen? What would be your advice? Like, you did the one with Old Sea Dog. Like, how do you go about doing that?
We bumped into each other at the cafe in Musket Cove in Fiji.
Pizza and beer, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just sitting working on my laptop, and he walked past me, and he was like, "Oh, Holly."
Oh,
and
shit.
Our followers had both been telling us, "You guys are both in Fiji, you should meet up." And then we just randomly did and decided to do a little filming together.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And was it kind of like understood, like, or was it, I guess my question is was it easy to make that happen, or is it hard to make collaborations happen?
Not at all. Everyone wants to do it. It's the same when I met James. We just happened to be in the same Anchorage, and we know that it's good for each other.
Yeah.
So then we were always like, yeah, we should do a video together. 'Cause
Oh.
it'll help both of us. So people want to.
Okay.
And I think if you have a similar amount of followers, then it's even easier. 'Cause
yeah.
you're both helping each other out.
So how do you engage with your followers? You talked earlier about, like, how you keep your audience is way more important. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I try to always, I read through all the comments. I answer the ones that are answerable. I don't want to say worth answering, because then that makes people feel like they're not worth answering. They're all worth answering.
Just in case you see this. Just kidding. I know what you mean, though. Like, some of them aren't questions. They're not.
Yeah, they're statements like, cool, good job. And
you're like, thank you, and then thank you, and then thank you. And you're like, I'm good, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And then I like to do things like have people on for little interviews at the end. So I had my mom when she visited me. At the end of one video, I was like, hey guys, post your questions for my mom, and I'll take them together and ask her and put the interview at the end of the next video. And then I collect every question, and a lot of them are similar, so then you just combine them into one.
Yeah.
And then people see that they're in real time, they're getting that sort of response. And every now and then I'll do, like, once every, maybe I've done 2, a questions video, like, ask me your questions.
Yeah.
And I'll make a video responding to them.
I like that, because it also makes people feel, one of the things that I've realized is that, like, I need to make my audience feel seen.
Yeah.
And I need to make them feel
heard.
important. Yeah. Because, I mean, they are investing. And that was actually really hard for me to wrap my head around, because, like, you put a lot less time, but, like, so much time into the videos. And that didn't mean to sound like your effort. Sorry.
No, it is true.
But, like, so much effort into the videos that there was a bit of resentment around, not resentment, like, my expectations for how people engage with me, I think, were presumptuous.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like you've had that issue.
I have no expectations. I thank people at the end of every video for the comments, but I genuinely appreciate every time I get comments. I'm like, ooh, comments.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. I never expect anyone to respond to me, and then when they do, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, you connected with this or that, or this thing that I thought people would jump down my throat for, no one has said anything about.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's cool. It makes me the comments were the reason that I stuck with the videos. And I have said that in previous videos, but it's because of all the positivity that I stuck with it.
I think as I've made my channel more authentic, I've also become more appreciative of who's stayed with me, because I realize how many people were not there for the real me.
Yeah.
Like, they were there for this version of, like, who they thought I was, which was, like, this woman that was sailing with my husband. And the minute I wasn't that to them, they were like,
goodbye.
bye. Or some of them were just freaking cruel, if I'm completely honest. Like, I would get some of the comments. And so when I started being authentic and started getting comments that were accepting, I was like, actually, you know what? Like, not everyone has to be here for kind reasons. So if they are here to support me, that like it changed my mindset personally, and honestly, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to have, when you put yourself out there and people like you, it feels really good. Instead of hiding behind some facade that you are like, this is my personality for the internet and it's not me. So if someone attacks it, they're not actually attacking me. They're attacking this thing that I'm like, this is my little wall. And then when you put the real you, it's a little more vulnerable, but then the positive feedback makes so much more of a difference.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying this podcast episode, then I also recommend that you sign up for my newsletter, which is specifically targeted at adventure creatives. Every 2 weeks, in 7 minutes or less, I share tips for starting, for growing, and building a sustainable business out of whatever you're doing in the adventure sphere. Now, my growth philosophy is based on 4 main things. First and foremost, a lot of creators blow up, they explode, and then they randomly extrapolate reasons for their growth without ever having to test those theories. Secondly, channels grow at different rates depending on their size, and a lot of the advice doesn't clarify that. Thirdly, a lot of the advice doesn't apply to the travel or adventure sphere, and they don't say that either. And then fourthly, most people who are in the adventure sphere are monetizing through Patreon, through sponsorships, or affiliate links, all of which require constant input, constant time. And I believe there is a more sustainable way that will give you more time in the end. So sign up for my newsletter. There's going to be a link in the description below or in the show notes. And yeah, let's get back to the show.
How did you engage with your patrons?
Mostly through the messages, because it's a way that they can get in touch with me. And then I always say, if you have a specific video you want me to make, I'll make it for you. So I get a lot of requests about like anything. Someone's like, oh, I want to redo my rig. Can you just show me how your rig is? Or someone asked me the setup I had for the preventer on my main, or how I put the dinghy on deck. And I love getting those questions so that I can make a custom tailored video for them, because it also is easier for me, because then I know what I'm going to make. Because the patrons I do a video every 2 weeks on YouTube, and then on the weeks there's not a YouTube video, I call it a little snack. And it's like a
I love that you named it snack.
Yeah, a 3 to 5 minute video, and it can be anything for them.
Oh shit.
So they never really know. If I don't have any requests, then I'll just make them either more in-depth, look into a project that I'm doing, or just something completely random, or footage that I don't use on the YouTube video. Yeah, but I try to engage with them as much as I can and make it more personal.
Yeah. How often do you post to your patron?
So I post my YouTubes on Patreon too, so they can just use that app for everything if they want to.
Okay.
And then they get this, so every 2 weeks they get a little snack.
Yeah. You ever done meetups?
No, that terrifies me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How come?
It's just a lot of energy to meet people, and I'm sort of, I guess, a little bit reclusive. One could say.
You kind of have to be. And it sounds like you've built an audience that kind of understands that as well. So that helps a lot. That's cool. And I saw that you have, compared to other channels, a very high ratio of patrons to subscribers, which means that you're very effective at either retaining them or getting them. Which one do you think it is, or is it both?
Maybe both. I mean, I think, you look at my boat, and I'm a little bit more pitiful than some of the bigger...
I wouldn't call you pitiful. Not your boat, anyway. Oh, do you ask your patrons?
I do.
Okay. How do you do it?
It's at the end of every video, I thank my patrons.
Okay.
Because they are 100% of my income, pretty much. And then I just say, if you want to become a patron, here's the information. And I just leave it at that. But people want to join. They want to be patrons. They want to be part of this trip. And they know that the money they're giving me is continuing on. It's going into boat parts. It's going into food and, clearing in fees. And they're all a little part of this trip. They kind of live through that, and I think they realize that. And then I try, when they become patrons, I try to make them really feel how appreciative I am of them.
Yeah.
Give them that.
Do you find there is a difference between content that helps you grow and content that like your audience really appreciates? Because I definitely find that to be the case.
I do know what sorts of things people like to see. So maybe I have thought of it just in different words. Because the videos that are more popular are the ones where I'm either at sea or fixing something. But then I
That's
always,
what I would think.
yeah, I do throw in ones of exploring the country where I'm at. And that's more the audience that I already have who wants to see where I am, but maybe
Yeah.
that's not going to pull in more people. So yeah, I guess I've just never thought of it like that, but
Yeah.
there probably is, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when I was researching your channel, so I'm interviewing Sailing Britacan, Cruising Kiwis. I'm trying to remember the other one I'm interviewing that actually have set up interviews. And I was doing research about all of you guys, and your keywords are actually like very sailing motivated. So your keywords are sailing, sailboat, and cruising. Those are your top keywords. And you rank for a couple other ones, but you always show up in those 3 keywords. Whereas like there's other channels that will rank for unusual places or
Yeah.
island or something like that. Or there's one channel that they rank only for steel sailboat, which is completely random.
Interesting.
So it seems like you've almost attracted that. My question is whether or not you've created content and then you've fallen into this rather than trying to fall into this. It hasn't really been super intentional in terms of trying to rank for certain keywords. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I've never really thought of keywords, but I guess I feel like if I have a sailing channel, then I want to show sailing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my logic. And I sail a lot. That's most of the content that I film is me sailing.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to film, and I think it's easier to make into a story. And it's more appealing, and it's beautiful shots.
And that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you think about your, like, who your audience is? Like, do you have a picture in your head of who they are? No, not at all.
No.
Because I want to attract someone like me that's like a female. They're young, they're adventurous, they
Yeah.
want to do things alone and like get out and be brave, Like,
That would be so cool if I had that part of my audience. But I think it's because I'm filming and editing everything alone, I don't really think about the audience at all beyond I know that they would like to see this, so I'm going to film it. But then when I'm doing it, it really just feels like it's me doing it, and I happen to be holding a camera.
Yeah.
And I'm not, when I say things, I just say them, and then I know when I edit if it sounds weird or, off color, I'm not going to leave it in. But it's not really on my mind. I kind of have a take it or leave it attitude about it, I guess. Like, I'm going to film what I think is interesting and say the things that I'm thinking, and if someone doesn't like it, then there's so many sailing channels, they can just go watch a different one.
Yeah.
I really believe that there's a sailing channel for everyone, or multiple ones.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, it keeps circling back to authenticity. It's gone back to that over and over and over again. And like, yeah, I just feel like that is, and that's one of the things you hear other big sailing channels say. Like there was an interview with Delos, and they said the same thing. Like you have to be authentic to who you are. Or you're shit out of luck.
yeah. Or I think it's just a lot of work, and you could probably paint yourself into a corner.
Let's see your equipment.
Oh.
Tell us about your equipment here. Tell us what you started with, and then why did you upgrade? Like, what were the different upgrades and the whys behind them?
Oh, yeah. So I had the GoPro Hero 3 when I started. Actually, when I started, when I was working on my boat, I had an iPhone 5 that all of the footage of me with the boat hauled out in Maine was taken on that. And that was because I wasn't thinking about a YouTube channel or anything. I was just documenting what I did. For some reason, I guess humans feel the need to document stuff.
Sometimes vertical, sometimes horizontal.
Yep, exactly. No idea what I was doing, but I was like, I want this. I want to remember this. And then when I had a GoPro, the 3, and that was what I started filming on. And then something happened to it, probably broke. So then I got the 6 because it was cheap because it was old at that point even. And then I got the 10, and that's this guy. So this is my setup now.
So why did you upgrade to the 10, and what were some of the like things that you were thinking about when you upgraded? And why did you stick with the GoPro, not a DSLR or something else?
Oh, like that thing? Because this is small, waterproof, and really easy to put anywhere.
And durable.
I can, because I have this thing, and I can clip it onto the backstay and get a shot of me doing the sails. When I'm at sea and everything is rolling around, I can clip it onto here. If it's raining, I put it in its waterproof case, and it can go anywhere. And then a camera like that, it it's hard for solo sailing because it's fragile. It can tip over. It probably will. And I feel like that's more one that you'd want to hold. Like if I was with another person, maybe I would use something like that more. But for me, this is just, it's so easy. I just set it up and I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. The durability part is huge. And then it also has really good stabilization, which on a sailboat or any kind of like adventure where you're moving is going to be super important. So
it is. And even walking around, it's the difference between, because I used my sister's 10 and it was just insane how good the footage was. And I was like, all right, I owe this to my channel to give them better quality footage. And it's not that much money to buy one. I
love the way you just think about that. I owe it to them because they really have stuck by you. So.
Yeah, they have.
Show us this case.
Okay, yeah, so this is a, I don't know what they call it, but it's on the GoPro website. It's a case, you take off the little door flap of your GoPro, and then it has a front-facing microphone, which comes with a little blob thing. This one I have made myself because the blob fell off, so I just used contact cement, and then I stitched together a blob from my old GoPro. I used to go over the whole thing. I called it the nest. Now it's the blob. And this is cool. It's not waterproof. And these GoPros, I don't know if you knew that, they say they're waterproof, but they're not. So yeah, you should always have it dry or in a waterproof case.
Okay, but you can take it underwater as you have to actually put it in the waterproof case. Underwater. Okay,
even in the rain,
because my 7 will go underwater.
The older ones do. The 6 I always took in the water.
Oh my gosh, that's so annoying.
But the new ones are fragile.
So how do you do any like maintenance to your camera to make sure you take care of it?
No,
because I always rinse mine in fresh water if I ever go in salt water, stuff like that.
Oh, I do that with the waterproof case. I give it a little soak in a bowl if I have water to spare.
At what point do you think it's like, you keep going or it's not worth it, or do you have any insight around stuff like that? Because I think most channels that are starting today, like I've now getting into this kind of work, there's thousands of channels that are failing and there's hundreds that are doing well.
Yeah.
Like what's the difference? When do you say, okay, this isn't going to work?
Oh, I think that's totally up to you. I would say if you really want it, then you should stick with it. And also think about why you're doing it in the first place. If it's something that you enjoy, if you enjoy filming, if you enjoy editing and taking this product and putting it online, and even if you have 500 viewers, does that make you happy? Are you proud of it? Do you like having that documentation so you know it's like the best journal in the world? You always have this your whole life. You can go back and look at it.
Yeah.
If that's enough for you, then obviously it's nice to have a big audience, but you don't have to. So keep going with it. And if you're only doing it to get a big audience and you're not growing, then I don't know, maybe if it's not bringing you joy, maybe stop, because that's probably coming through in the videos.
What do you mean by that? Because I totally resonate with that. That is something that's completely hit me recently.
Yeah, I think about a year or two ago I kind of figured out how to make better videos, and I have had comments where people say, wow, your quality has improved. And I think part of it is getting a nicer GoPro, getting a better computer, and just figuring out how to edit. And now the videos that I produce, I'm like, this was good. This was enjoyable to edit, and I feel like I made something really worthwhile. I always try to capture the emotions that I'm feeling by using music and footage, and when I'm able to convey that feeling, that's when I really feel like I've succeeded.
Yeah.
And it's gone from something that I was like, oh, I wonder what this is all about, to something that I didn't enjoy, to now something that I really enjoy and feel good about. So it's kind of made me care less about the, building and retaining and blah, blah, blah. It's just something that I like to do.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good place to get to be honest. Like, not only for your personal fulfillment, but also, like, sustainably. Like, you kind of have to get there. It's funny, Walter Murch, he is the editor for The Godfather, I think. And I'm reading his book, The Blink of an Eye, which just, if you are interested in, like, learning how to edit more, it's one of the most fascinating books. It's short, it's easy to read, and he just like talks about the psychology of editing, and he says that 51% of an edit is emotion, and then the next 26% is the story, and then there's a couple of other things that he talks about, but like those are the two big things. And he says that you should never sacrifice emotion ever.
Yeah.
Like emotion should always be held above everything else. So yeah. Why is it important to you though to get emotion across?
Because I think I want people to get as close as they can to knowing what it feels like to be at sea. And for me, it's one of my favorite feelings is a good day at sea. And I know that people watch sailing channels to get an idea of that, and whether it's because they think they might want to do it one day or it's something that they've realized they're really passionate about, I want to try to give an experience that takes as much of it as possible. And I love being able to share that. I think it also makes me feel like I'm sharing that experience with other people, because I watch some of my at sea episodes back and I'm like, you know, when I'm editing and I do the edit and then I do a whole rewatch of it start to finish just to make sure that it feels cohesive.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, wow, okay, I'm actually feeling similar to the way I felt when I was filming that at sea, and that's when I feel like I succeeded.
I love that. How do you balance that with like the lows? Because sometimes there's some really big lows as well. Do you show those or?
I do, yeah. I always film when I'm really tired, and if I'm just, I think the passage to Fiji was really hard, and I was stuck in bed for a couple of days because it was so rough, and I did a sequence of, like, it was kind of a silly sequence, but I called it Ghost Ship, where my boat was just rolling ear to ear. I couldn't stand anything up without it falling over. I had pillows all around my neck because I was getting whiplash.
Oh my God.
And so I started just playing, and I would put something on the counter, and I knew that it would slide, and I'd film it, and then I would do like a fake pa right at the time the boat rolled, the thing rolled too, and I was like, join me in my madness. To try to show like it's not all glamour, and I do want to convey that as well.
Yeah.
The highs and the lows, and when I'm really tired and burnt out, I'm like, yeah, I've just slept in the cockpit in the rain all night.
Well, I think that part of it though, like, you're in this horrible moment, right? Mm-hmm. And it's rolling, you feel shitty, and you're still thinking of like providing humor, and so like part of it also has to be like, I mean, you have that ability, even when you're, like, that's part of who you are.
Yeah.
You have this ability to find humor and, like, make the best of a situation. And I think that is one of the things that attracts people to you and your channel the most. Would you say that's true? Like, I've seen your comments seem to resonate like that.
Yeah, I think it entertains me to make entertaining videos. And
I love that. Yeah. I love that so much. Yes.
So I don't know that I wouldn't have played Ghost Ship by myself. But the fact that I put a camera there, I was like, what can I do with this? And it kept me entertained for an hour of what normally I would have just been lying there like, this sucks. And it's, I think, probably most solo sailors who film would say the same thing, but talking to the camera also feels like
you're not alone.
Yeah. And that's another reason I like to film myself when I'm at sea, is just to have that little moment with the camera, which kind of feels like legally talking to yourself without being called crazy. Even though you really are, like, you're completely alone and you're just talking to a thing. But for some reason...
You feel connected.
Yeah, I do feel connected.
I sometimes find, like, a little bit of anxiety, like, what if I slip into that mindset where, like, you know, if you get depressed or something like that? Like, do you ever worry about stuff like that? Like, what if you aren't able to find joy in something? What if it becomes sad and depressing to some extent because you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that's, like, a deep question, but I'm super curious because, like, you're able to do this because that's who you are right now.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's such a tenuous job to have because it's really dependent on your ability to create something that people want to watch. But the video I'm editing right now, so I just finished like 3 awesome videos of my sister and I like going deliciously crazy at sea, and I was just chuckling through the whole edit like, this is hilarious. And now the one I'm editing is me replacing my engine, which took 3 weeks, and it wasn't that fun. Like, it was, but it was hard.
Yeah.
But I'm not, like, in that one, I'm not cutting jokes, and I'm not like, oh, so today I'm taking off the alternator. I'm just like, so here's the alternator. And I think it's okay to have maybe it's more of a, like, instead of having that flow throughout a video, you have it in more of a grand arc throughout your channel. Like, there's high videos and low videos. And in this one, I wasn't, like, I was just trying to get a job done. And I was also filming it, which did feel more like a job when I'm doing projects.
Yeah.
The filming isn't, I'm like, oh, I guess I should film this. But what I really want to do is just do it. But I do want to show this because it's part of the boat life. And so I know that the video is not as, like, you're probably not going to laugh, but it is, you know, informative, and I am doing a job.
Yeah.
And that's okay as long as it's balanced out. Like, I know there'll be another fun one.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to like every video either, but it's
Yeah.
all stuff that's happening. And if, yeah, I've had months where I've been really sad and I still film, and it probably comes across, I would imagine, because I'm not trying to hide it, but I'm still doing the same things.
Yeah.
It's just that me, the narrator, the voice, isn't maybe as jolly as other times.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And I think it's good for people to see that, like, you can be in a beautiful place and you don't have to be happy. That's something I've really struggled with since cruising, is that sometimes I feel like every day I'm living this amazing life that so many people want in this, you know, when I was in Polynesia, like, paradise, crystal clear waters, sharks everywhere, coral. But not every day is going to be the best day ever. It can't be. And I think maybe that translates through some of the videos, I hope, because that's important for people to know.
I've definitely felt like a responsibility, like when we first started sailing, to show it all, because to some extent, like, you are convincing people to live this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you only show the positive, there's like a potential for, like, I don't know, it almost feels like
False advertising.
Yeah, like, it's almost like manipulative a little bit. And I find sometimes when I see channels and it's like all happy, I'm just like, well, I know you're doing well, but, like, what's your responsibility to, like, the world to some extent? I know that sounds like kind of like deep, but do you feel a responsibility to the world at all?
Horribly, no.
Maybe I'll use that. Just kidding.
No, you can.
I'm a humanitarian international development background. Like, I come from, like, resettling refugees. Like, this is the work I've done. So I feel like a huge responsibility to the world. And it's like, it weighs on me. I'm not even lying. Like, it totally weighs on me.
That's cool, though, because I don't think...
Thanks.
No, but most people don't think that way. I think we need people who think like that.
Oh,
and it's a lot of responsibility to
Yeah.
be you. But the yous of the world are the ones that do think about that stuff and try to make a difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Do you have anything else to offer, advice-wise?
I don't think so. Just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. That's terrible advice.
No, I mean, it's totally true, though.
No, I think it's easy to tell yourself all the reasons why you can't do something, and to look at all the successful channels and think, I'll never be that. And you won't at first. It's basically like the percentage of people who go viral or who make 2 videos and have suddenly 100,000 subscribers. That's basically no one.
Yeah.
And you have to start at the beginning and just
learn
and keep going and stick with it. And maybe it takes a couple years. Like, my channel took 2 years before I really started to get an audience. And you can't always be comparing yourself to other people. You just have to think about you and what you're doing and how you feel about it. And it'll either come together or it won't.
Yeah.
But as long as it's making you happy, then you're winning, right?
And you'll learn a lot along the way. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my tagline for this, I decided, is viral is not a strategy.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of people are like, well, I mean, I'll talk about this in other videos, but, like, they compare themselves and their channel and they try to grow via strategies of big channels. And I think there's, like, a much more sustainable way to do it.
Yeah.
Which authenticity, I think, is a big one. So, yeah. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate this. You're going to help people with this kind of thing. I know it sounds silly, and that's kind of like my big thing behind this is, like, nobody is talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who want this lifestyle and are, like, daring to dream, daring to be brave, and you are one of them, and you're sharing it with people, and I highly appreciate you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming all the way out here.
Can we high five? Because we're Americans. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having watched this episode. I really hope that you found some value out of it. And if you did, please share this episode with someone else and then tag me at the Audacious Path. It really means a lot, and I'll repost that on my own Instagram or Facebook if I see you do that. And if you want to go a little extra mile and help me out a ton, leave me a 5-star review. Reviews help so much to help me reach more creators, and I haven't seen anything like this out there that's helping adventure creatives. So please help me help others. We do grow faster when we grow together, and I appreciate you, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the next episode.